On October 15th, 5 Russian soldiers entered the city of Pokrovsk dressed as ordinary civilians. Jeans, simple jackets, no military uniforms. They hid their weapons under their clothes and walked through the streets as if they were local residents. But they weren't. Pokrovsk was once a key industrial city with over 80,000 residents. After years of Russian shelling, fewer than 1,000 civilians still live there. Most of them are elderly, who have spent their entire lives in that place and refuse to leave. That's why Ukrainian drone units have strict orders not to shoot anyone dressed as a civilian, unless they are absolutely sure it's a Russian soldier, and Russia knows that. It's using this rule as a weapon. That day, the 5 soldiers arrived in the city center and found 3 civilians, but they made a fatal mistake. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone captured everything on video. Every second, every movement, every shot. The Russian soldiers realized they had been filmed and ran to hide in a nearby railway station. They thought they would be safe there. They were wrong. Ukraine was not interested in taking prisoners. What happened next was swift and final justice. The drones located the station and eliminated all 5. Now, you might be thinking this was just another isolated incident in the war, but it wasn't. What happened in Pokrovsk is part of something much bigger. And to understand the scale of this, we need to talk about what this Russian tactic really means. When soldiers dress as civilians to attack the enemy, this has a specific name in international law. It's called perfidy, and it's a war crime under the Geneva Convention. But the problem goes beyond the law. It's a perfect strategic trap. Think about the impossible dilemma this creates for Ukrainian defenders. If they shoot anyone in civilian clothes, they might be killing an innocent person, and then they're committing a war crime. But if they don't shoot, they allow Russian infiltration groups to enter the city, gather intelligence, and attack Ukrainian positions from behind. It's a dirty game. Russia was using the very laws of war as a weapon against Ukraine. The Institute for the Study of War confirmed that this was not an isolated case. Groups of 5 to 10 Russian soldiers had been making repeated infiltrations into Pokrovsk. A Ukrainian commander publicly admitted that his troops were having difficulty distinguishing civilians from disguised Russian soldiers. But then Ukraine figured out how to solve this problem. With technology and patience, and by technology, I mean drones. Drones aren't just for attacking, they watch, record, and gather evidence. When that drone captured the video of the 5 soldiers killing civilians, it did 2 things at the same time. First, it provided legal evidence. That video clearly shows that the people in civilian clothes were not civilians. They were combatants committing perfidy and murdering unarmed civilians. With this evidence, the Ukrainian counterattack becomes completely legal under international law. Second, the drone tracked the perpetrators to their hideout and allowed the Ukrainian forces to eliminate them. Film first, then attack. It's a complete tactical, legal, and informational victory. But the story doesn't end in Pokrovsk. In fact, it was just beginning. While Ukrainian drones were delivering justice on the battlefield, something much bigger was happening thousands of kilometers away. Ukrainian intelligence agents were working inside Russia itself. In Siberia, the Kemerovo region is sparse, full of coal and railway lines, the perfect place for someone who wants to disappear. There are even rumors that Putin has a secret hideout there, in case Ukrainian drones get too close to the Kremlin. An office identical to that windowless one he uses in all his video calls. Yes, have you seen it? Also, all of Putin's offices have no windows. It's not a joke. It's by choice, because in Great Russia, Windows are one of the most dangerous things for the Russian elite. But, going back to Siberia, Russian officials were also using the region to escape Ukrainian justice. They thought they were safe there. But, as the saying goes, justice has long arms. Ukrainian military intelligence, known as Main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, identified a Russian officer named Veniamin Mazurin. He had been hiding in Siberia for some time. He was part of a military column that got stuck near Kiev in March 2022. During that period, Russian forces occupied several cities around the capital: Bucha, Irpin, Rostomel. There were credible reports of torture, forced disappearances, looting, and the indiscriminate use of weapons in residential areas. All of this is considered a war crime. According to the National Police of Ukraine and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, more than 1,000 civilian bodies were recovered in the Kyiv region from that period. In Bucha alone, approximately 450 were found. The scale and nature of these attacks turned Bucha into a symbol of the cruelty of this invasion, and Ukraine began to deliver its own justice to every soldier involved. Mazurin was identified as early as April 2022. The plans to eliminate him had been in motion since then. He fled to Siberia, thinking he could hide. He couldn't. A few days ago, the Ukrainian Main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine took care of him using a car bomb. Everything was filmed and documented. Justice was served. But here's where things get really interesting, because this isn't just a story of revenge. It's a coordinated military strategy. Ukraine has been carrying out operations like this for some time. They target Russian generals, colonels, and officers. And this is having a disproportionate impact on the front lines. The reason? The Russian army operates from the top down, more than any other modern army. While Western armies train sergeants to make decisions in the field, Russia obsessively relies on experienced officers. When you kill a Russian colonel, you're not just eliminating one person, you're paralyzing an entire unit. It's like ripping the brain out of a body. American General Ben Hodges explained this perfectly. These targeted attacks make it difficult to coordinate fire, logistics, and the use of mass. But they also have a psychological impact. These commanders, who ordered attacks against civilian targets and executed Ukrainian prisoners, now know they are not untouchable. They can be tracked at home, wherever they are. That's exactly what Mossad does, and Ukraine will keep doing it, both for practical reasons, to degrade Russian capability, and for psychological reasons, to let these guys know there's no safe place. Now, there's a reason why these war criminals are afraid. And that's because Ukraine has dedicated enormous resources to tracking and documenting every Russian crime, every atrocity. Then they publish everything for the world to see, before justice is, let's say, served. There's a report from a Ukrainian military expert that explains this. He describes how all the country's structures and agencies do important work that few people know about. All crimes committed by Russians against the Ukrainian people are documented and recorded. And this is done extremely thoroughly because every war crime has a name. This is handled by the main investigation department of the Security Service of Ukraine, the Security Service of Ukraine. All fragments from crime scenes are carefully studied and serve as evidence in case files. When this specialist visited the underground bunker where one of the units was located, he was shocked by the scale of the work being done. Obviously, they have databases on computers, but the team recreated a huge visualization of the structure of the Russian army. Photographs, names, ranks, positions, chain of command and control. Each criminal order has a specific first and last name. You can be sure that Ukrainians will never forget or forgive. The department closely monitors executions of prisoners of war and civilians. Many believe these actions in the Russian army are chosen by regular soldiers. No. These orders are carefully coordinated from above, and those people at the top also have names and positions. And it's not just a rumor. There is evidence of intercepted radio calls between Russian commanders and soldiers on the battlefield. We can hear Russian commanders saying exactly to kill everyone. This is not a soldier acting alone. It's a direct order from a commander, and it was captured on audio. There's another interception that shows executions of prisoners of war. The United Nations documented a significant increase in credible allegations of executions of prisoners of war between September and November of 2024. 19 separate incidents involving at least 62 individual victims. These are not isolated cases. It's systematic policy. Now, there are specific people behind these crimes, and Ukraine has identified many of them and published their names publicly. 2 weeks ago, a Ukrainian intelligence agency called Molfar identified some of the Russian soldiers involved in the Bucha massacre. First, there's Alexander Dosyagayev. He's one of the main commanders in Bucha, responsible for all the crimes. The intelligence agency posted a photo of him with his family, which he took on New Year's. Then, there's Artem Gorodilov. He's connected to more than 40 crimes in Bucha. And 2 years ago, he was arrested in Russia on fraud charges. These are the people that Russia is taking out of prisons and sending to the front lines, where they commit war crimes. When they return to Russia, they go back to their old habits. Ukrainian intelligence posted a photo of his family, and, below, the crime he committed in Bucha. The next one is Azatbek Omerbekov. This guy is nicknamed the Butcher of Bucha because he is the main perpetrator of mass killings of civilians in that city. And, again, there's a photo of him having dinner with his wife, which Ukrainian intelligence services found and posted, along with the crime he committed. The last one is Nikolai Sokovikov. This guy shot 2 Ukrainian civilians in the back while they were just walking. The action was filmed by a video camera. Here is a photo he took with his family after killing civilians in Bucha. And below is the actual crime he committed on video. It was captured by a security camera. We have the exact date and minute when it happened, because it was all on camera. Do you realize what's happening here? It's not just identification. This strategy is working on 4 fronts at the same time. On the tactical battlefield, with drones filming and eliminating. On the secret front, with the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine eliminating high-value targets inside Russia. On the legal front, with the Security Service of Ukraine documenting everything for international courts. And on the psychological front, with the public exposure of these war criminals. I know this video focused a lot on violence, but that's the reality of war. Deaths are not a good thing and should be avoided. But this is the way Ukraine found to seek justice by its own means. There is a famous quote that says, "Peace without justice is tyranny." And Ukraine is completely within its rights to seek justice for its citizens who were massacred by Russian forces. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think this Ukrainian strategy of pursuing war criminals, even inside Russia, is justified? Leave your answer in the comments. If this content added value for you, share it with someone who needs to see this. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. See you next time.